Hi again then guys, and welcome to another speed build on Forza Horizon 3, and as I've mentioned before a couple of times, although people do often request them, I don't typically do tune setups for Horizon Edition vehicles, and the reason why I don't typically do that is quite simple. They don't tend to be any better than the normal car. You get the boost, of course, as far as XP goes typically, but that doesn't really affect the tune that much. You have the same engines to work with, the same peak power, oftentimes the same weight, and sometimes the car's PI level will be slightly different, and sometimes the performance will be different. But a lot of them just aren't really worth doing separate tunes for, so you can use my tunes for the normal version on both. Occasionally though, you do get a Horizon Edition car which is significantly different. The Supra, for instance. The Horizon Edition has the use of a V12 motor instead of the V8. That makes a massive difference. It allows it to go beyond 270. This car has that same advantage. The normal S15 Silvia can only have that V8 as its best option. Now though, the Horizon Edition can once again have that 1500 horsepower V12, and it makes again a massive difference, just like with the Supra. Now, as you could see, I would recommend having that engine. I would also recommend all-wheel drive. Of course, it's typically a drifter. Some people might not like having all-wheel drive. It's down to personal preference at the end of the day. If you don't want it, don't fit it, but I would recommend it. For the aspiration, of course, you want the twin turbo. Again, the body kit is totally down to you. It's down to personal preference. You don't have to do it. It does increase stability though through corners, and it looks pretty cool, I think at least. Now, if you want this tuned straight on your car, it is on my storefront, so you can use the keywords down in the video description to find that pretty easily. But if you want to do it yourself, you've got some visual options, because as you can see, I opted to completely remove the rear wing. One of the reasons why is because it increases the car's point level. That doesn't matter as much though. A better advantage is it improves your top end aerodynamics, and then there's the secondary benefit of just dropping a little bit of weight. As far as the rest though, of course it's down to you. Increase the power as much as you can, beyond 1500 horsepower, lower the weight as much as you reasonably can, and for the rest, just fit everything to the car that is race spec. Don't fit rally parts, that's not necessary, just go for racing parts. Now for the tuning setup, and in particular the benchmark, you can see that top speed in particular has a big difference. 273 is quite a bit quicker than the non-V12 version. The acceleration as well, if memory serves, is quicker. It's not mind-blowingly quick for acceleration, but it definitely isn't slow. As far as the gearbox, I would recommend a final drive of 2.8, then very familiar individual gears to those who have used my tunes before. You don't really need to change them that much for this one. So I've got 2.9 for first, then 2, 1.5, 1.19, 0.96 and 0.79. Then for alignment, I've got neutral camber and toe, as I often would, 4 degrees of caster, but you can vary on this car. Feel free to change those if you want to. Anti-roll we've got on 30 and 21. Springs on 152, 180, and I've opted for the lowest ride height front and rear. It's down to personal preference though. For dampers, we've got those on 12, 14, 6 and 5. Aero doesn't apply. And for the diff, as I usually would, I've got 100% on the acceleration bias, 0 on decel, and a 70% split in favour of that back end. Again, as I usually would. Now this car has so much power, and it's already such a tail-happy, drift-happy vehicle, that even with a 70% bias, you can easily drift this car a lot, so you really don't need to take it any further towards the back than that. If you want to just have some fun or try it out, of course you can. I'm not saying don't do that, it's just not really necessary. Having it on 70%, at least in my experience, gives you that nice mix between the manoeuvrability of a rear-wheel drive car, but at the same time gives you that peak launch and just helps out immeasurably at getting that power down both on and off-road. So that's it for the setup, but as we always do, let's actually take it out on the road to see if it can hit the benchmark, if it doesn't quite hit it, or maybe if it can go beyond it. Now, as I mentioned, that V12 engine makes a huge difference in the case of this particular Silvia, in a very similar way to how much it improves the Supra. It allows you to go from being a really good contender in the JDM class to going way beyond that and being a car which can actually beat quite a number of supercars or even full-on race cars in terms of straight-line performance. Now, with the S15, I would say more so than the Supra, you really can feel the manoeuvrability that the car has as well. It's very good through twisty corners, it's great for drifting, it's a lot of fun, and it's always been a fan favourite, just like the Supra. So, if you do get the chance to pick up the Horizon Edition S15, then of course I would recommend checking out this tune on it, and if you do decide to use it, I hope you have a lot of fun with it. But if you enjoyed this one, there are plenty more tunes, hundreds more in fact, just like this on the channel, so feel free to check those out as well. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.